TG Geeks, episode 78, special report from Phoenix Comicon 2016. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from the Hyatt Hotel in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, across the street from the convention center that is cram-packed with people on this hot Friday afternoon.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from what I think is about to become ground zero for sheer mayhem and insanity tomorrow. Because, like today, it's nuts.
It's just crazy. This has got to be the. We talked to Joe. I don't know if you were there with me, but I talked to Joe yesterday, and he said, I have never seen it this busy. On a Thursday. It was crazy.
Right. It was crazy. It's nuts.
9 o'clock in the morning. There were 400 people online waiting for registration to open.
Yeah. And then
no programming that started till noon.
No. And then just a few moments ago, I was just looking on Facebook and saw footage that was posted 6 hours ago of the most insane line just to get in for registration today. And a friend of ours, Jeff George, he commented that he saw the line earlier and that it went around the convention center. And for anybody who's never been here, the convention center takes up more than just 2 city blocks.
Yes, it's enormous.
It's a huge facility.
Yeah. So anyway, we have another interview, and this one is another interview from Occupants, since we didn't get Briana White, who plays Annie in Occupants. We actually talked to her this afternoon.
Yep.
Friday afternoon, and we're going to release this Saturday morning, obviously, and we're going to let you listen to the interview right now. And this time we've got a special interview with Miss Briana White, and she played both Annies in Occupants, the movie. We also have Russ Emanuel with us, and of course,
I'm here.
That's Ben.
Yes,
and
me.
I'm Keith, and we're going to talk about Occupants. So, Briana, tell us, who are you, and how did you break into acting, and how did you get associated with Occupants? So that's just kind of the big topic.
Okay,
here.
Perfect. So I was in a school play when I was 7 years old. I was Molly in Annie. And
go figure.
From the very first line, I was in love with theater. That was my first production, and it just kind of changed my perspective on everything that I ever did. So I just did every school play and every school I was into up until college. I went to NYU for acting, and I've kept loving it ever since. And
so you've actually made a point of studying acting then?
Yes, I have.
Cool.
Because one of the things that I really noticed, I don't know if you had a chance to see the review that we put out, but something that very much impressed me about Occupants is the quality of your acting. Because not only do you have to play the same person but 2 different people.
I like to call it the different side of each of the coin.
I mean,
exactly.
it
same
really
coin,
is.
different side.
Oh, yeah.
There's something very schizophrenic about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh man, it's like split personality the way you did that.
Thank you.
And in both cases, the acting is like enormously strong. And I thought, this person she's got some serious acting chops.
Thank you.
So your education was, in terms of acting, was over at NYU?
Oh yeah. It was all fun all the way through, from elementary school through high school. That was all fun and exploration and playing. And then at NYU, it was, the big idea at the studio that I was in was to have fun with it and to play within a really, stringent, rigorous guidelines of whatever method we were studying. They didn't focus on one method like a lot of the studios at NYU do,
Right.
but we focused on a lot of different methods. Whatever we needed for that specific scene or project or exercise is what we studied at that moment. And that's something that I absolutely loved because that's always been my style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you got a chance to experience everything
Exactly.
and find your own way and
Exactly.
take pieces and parts,
One of my instructors explained it as if you're going up a mountain, there are lots of different ways to go up a mountain, and some people only fly, some people only drive, some people hike, some people take llamas.
Llamas.
Like
Okay,
Let's use the llama method today.
Yeah, we're gonna use the llama method. Okay,
Exactly.
Alpaca.
How about the camel?
Yeah,
the camel method,
method.
yeah.
Camel.
Very perfect for the desert that we're in right now.
Exactly.
But the way he explained it is, different trips require different methods sometimes. And
Right.
so I've always remembered that metaphor because I love that and I totally agree with it.
Well, and if you're going to use that kind of metaphor, I think back to like a musician or a writer. A writer is only as good as the words he has in his that he has in his command.
Exactly.
Same thing with a musician. They're only as good as the different techniques, be it jazz, classical, whatever it is. The more they know, the better they can be. So I appreciate the fact that they instill that same idea.
Oh, I agree.
There's something about in NAA and a lot of the anonymous groups, they say, take what you need and leave the rest.
Yes.
So
too.
that is a great, it's a
Yeah.
great thing to take over into that. They teach you everything, so you take
Yes.
what you need and leave the rest.
Exactly.
So that's really
and I
cool.
guess it kind of lends to the idea that I'm not exactly a master in any sense of each specific method,
Right.
but I can use what I need, like you said. And I think
Yeah.
that's really, really been helpful for me.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So how did you wind up on this film?
So, one of my, it's kind of a long story. So one of
That's
my,
okay.
We have time.
That's true. I did a lot of student films when I was at NYU, and part of that is because someone who lived on my floor in my dormitory was a film student, and they're always looking
Oh,
for
that is
actors.
great.
Yeah, it just sort of worked out that we also clicked as good friends. So he had me in a lot of his projects, and one of the teachers of his class, really noticed me. We got to know each other, and he kind of acted as a mentor for me. His name is Gary Shimakawa. He's been in the industry a long time, and I have a huge amount of respect for him. His brother-in-law is an agent in LA, and
Oh,
so
wow.
he introduced me and just said, let the cards fall where they may. And Peter Young is his name. He wanted to represent me. So
Nice.
yes, it ended up just working out. It was like fate. Like it was totally perfect, and it's been kind of a blessed existence from there.
Yeah.
So Peter represents Bob Picardo.
Mhm.
who is-
Oh,
Yes.
I see.
6 degrees of separation.
Exactly.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so like again, it's just another fate thing,
Yeah.
It just kind of worked out perfectly, and so I guess Peter found out that Russ was working on a new movie. He was casting, and Peter called him and said, "Hey, I gotta get a few people in for these roles," and Russ was like, our roster is kind of full, and Peter was like, no, I swear, like please.
It was full. It was already 24 actresses.
Yeah.
But then,
Wow.
But then, he sent over you and some other actresses, and we're like, okay, let's call them in. And I'm telling you, you were the best of the 27.
I'd hope so. You cast
yeah.
me.
Did you tell the story on the when we were recording, or was that the 2 hours after we talked?
Oh, I don't
my-
quite remember, but about I think it was after. So basically, what happened was, so we had auditions, right?
Right.
And it was actually a week before we started shooting the film, and we had callbacks the next day. And what was it? I think it was Julia, the writer, Julia Camera. She was mentioning how you got the wrong sides.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
And
did.
I blame the producer, of course.
Of course,
Because
he's
he's
not
not
here
here.
tonight.
No, I love Howard Nash, but no, you got the wrong sides. I think what happened was we had a script and we were working on it, so the scenes changed, from the script that Julia Cameron wrote to a shooting script.
Right.
And so you got the wrong scenes. And we thought it was, still scene 24 when it was actually like scene 26, let's say.
And also the scene that I got was or this, I think what you gave me was a script, an old script, and then
Yes.
said, do scene 18.
Yes.
But scene 18 that I got was a Dark Annie scene. And it wasn't, I wasn't supposed to be auditioning as Dark Annie for any of those scenes, I think. So, you know, I came in with the Dark Annie scenes and I was like, well, can I do them anyway? Because I've prepared them. And he said yes. And I think that ended up being a blessing in disguise because a lot of casting directors, or if the director's in the room, they don't have time. They don't want to see, you know, any extra stuff that you prepared. They don't really give you the chance.
Right.
But I was really lucky that Russ gave me that opportunity because I think that was the scene that I really felt like I did best in.
Right.
No, you definitely did.
And
Definitely, I agree.
then when you got chosen, I understand there was
that too.
a
Yeah,
little
that was
kerfuffle
great.
there.
Well, first off, you know, I made sure that the lead actor, Michael Pugliese, was there.
Right,
He's
right,
already
right.
cast
Yeah,
at this
exactly.
point. And I made sure that the DP, Emil Harris, you know, was
Right.
there because, you know, I mean, Michael had to act with Briana,
Mhm.
and the DP had to shoot Briana. So I'm saying, okay, what do you two think?
It was an
And we all
audition
agree-
and a chemistry read and a screen test
Exactly.
all in
All
one.
in one. Yeah. Wow.
because that's a Rusty Manual type of film. But we all decided. I mean, you were the one. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call her. I'm gonna give her the good news, and I got her voice message.
Yeah.
And I'm
Okay,
going,
I was at work.
I know. In retrospect, yes.
That's what was explained later. It's like he's sitting there for 4 hours waiting.
really
Does
want
she
the
really?
job?
And then what? You messaged?
Yeah, then I
Michael?
messaged Michael saying we may have to go with choice 2. He's like, no. So and
But what's funny is I actually I told my manager I had to go to the restroom, and I went to the restroom and checked my voicemail, and I started like squealing, and I was like, I just got a really good voicemail. Can I go out and call them back? Can I call my director back? And he was like, I guess, like, whatever. Like, you're supposed to be at work right now, but okay. So I called him back in the middle of my shift to tell him that I wanted the role.
Okay, see, now that is dedication.
Thank you.
That is.
It is.
That's great. So, what? So they. What am I trying to
Yes?
say? I don't know. It was just days before the shooting started
I
that
think
they
it was
actually.
5 or 7
Yeah.
days. Which one
Yeah.
was it?
Well, you were cast on September 19th. We started shooting on the 24th. So that is about 5 days.
Yeah, 5 days.
Wow.
That
To
is
learn an
not
entire
much
script.
time
Yeah.
to
No,
prepare.
No, that's not at all.
No.
But you were a trooper, right?
I did my best. Luckily,
Obviously.
I've been really good at memorization. That's one of my stronger traits. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you were really
Cool.
good at that. Trust me.
Thank
I was
you.
like really, really happy.
Don't
Yeah.
make
Definitely
any
got that.
changes because I already have this
that was
memorized.
another thing. He told me the date that we started shooting, and I had to go back into my manager and sit down with him, and I had to say, well, in 5 days, I'm taking 10 days off. And my schedule was already made for the restaurant, and he was like, well, you know, you have to get your shifts covered. And I was like, I'll do my best, but I just want you to know I'm not coming in.
Right.
Even if I can't get my shifts covered, I'm going to be gone for 10 days.
Yeah. Now, this is my real career.
Exactly. Yeah. Luckily, he was extremely understanding. So,
Yeah.
and they were all pretty excited for me too, because this was my first big feature.
Well, and
Yeah.
now the movie's had its premiere and will soon be getting a distributor.
Yeah.
You know, you can always say, see, this is because of you. You can you turn it
Exactly.
around. So, you know, go to your boss and say, this is because of you that I have this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's all because of you.
Right.
So one of the things that I loved about your role is that you felt so relaxed, especially in the very beginning. And something I said this when we first talked to Russ, and I mentioned this in the review and again last night. What I love, especially in the first 20 minutes, the relationship between you and Michael.
Yeah.
I really felt like I was watching an actual YouTube video.
Thank you.
I mean, there was something just so enormously
Yeah.
relaxed that I kept thinking they must be making this up. It felt like that. It felt like you were just given basic, here are just some points,
yeah.
run with it.
Yeah.
And there was none of that.
Well, a little bit of that might actually have come from the fact that we didn't have a lot of time to prepare. So it
Right.
didn't feel rehearsed. And that's because, you know, if we forgot a word here or there, we knew we just had to kind of keep going and make up
yeah.
the word. And that's maybe why it seems so natural. But another thing is Mike is just so easy to get along with.
Really.
From the minute I walked into that audition room, he's got this like gorgeous smile, and it was like he puts you at ease to work
Yeah.
with him. He's just a really amazing person to work with and just be in the room with. So that helps.
That's
it does.
cool.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Dark Annie scenes.
You see, you wanted the Dark Annie.
Yeah,
we really wanted to go there, right?
We wanted to. Let's talk about Dark Annie first, and then we'll talk about
bright and cheery.
Well,
bright and cheery.
We can. I mean, one of the things that I find so fascinating is that you were able to. I mean, even as Dark Annie, okay, sure, yeah, you did your hair as a brunette, but you did something else with your face. Because a lot of people, I mean, we had friends with us who watched it last night.
They said,
and
I had to look twice and say, that's the same person.
Is that the same person? Because even I was thinking, that's not the same actress.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there's something, you're doing something, either psychologically or whatever. I mean, it's not just the hair.
So how did you get into that part? What was it that you drew on to play that part?
Well, one of the things that I learned in school is that people carry their stress in different places. And a lot of times stress and grief kind of sits in your stomach, and you kind of have to think back to a time when you've actually felt that as a person and try to recall that both mentally but also physically. And so, the hair changes helped, the wardrobe definitely helped, and I mean, as long as my face looking different, that's a little bit of help with the makeup,
right.
I'm sure. But as far as mannerisms go, people who are having a really bad day just carry themselves differently, and
right.
she didn't just have a bad day. She's kind of had a bad life.
She had a bad life,
yeah. She's made bad choices, and, she's with the wrong person, supposedly. And just things like that. You do have to kind of internalize it also.
I want to visit that because you said something that, and we spent an hour interviewing, and then we another 2 hours.
About another 2 hours just chit-chatting after the whole interview.
So we talked about a lot of things. Are you sure that she was with the wrong person, or you said that she made some bad choices? Did they make some bad choices together that caused him to be the wrong person?
Sure.
Or was he truly the wrong person in that reality?
Yeah, because I understand you've got a full backstory on this Dark Annie.
Yeah.
So
Russ sent me his backstory, and we kind of talked it over before we started filming.
And also, while you're getting your dye job, we sat down during lunch.
Exactly. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I like to think that real Annie, I don't want to call her real Annie because that means parallel Annie's not real. She is real.
Right.
Let's just say Blonde Annie and Darth Annie.
There we go.
I like to think they were born the same people. They were born to the same parents, the same circumstances. But when something happens to you and you just think, God, was that luck or was that fate? Like, the stars have just aligned. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you go through things in your life where it seems, yes, like this is how it was supposed to be. Like I was talking about with my mentor at NYU and my agent, how this all happened, and why I'm here.
Yeah, and then there's other stars aligned. The stars have just crashed down on you. Crashed into your planet.
I like to think of it as that Blonde Annie, everything, the stars always aligned for her. And with Parallel Annie, the stars were slightly
askew.
off. Yeah. And with the whole, she started to realize that there was this parallel universe where, Blonde Annie is so happy and has her dream job and her dream man, and why didn't this work out for her? It was almost like she's looking at herself and going, God, I was so close. All the elements were there, but just something is conspiring against me.
Do you think she had a psychotic break?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's why I cannot call her Darth Annie. She's a tragic.
Yeah,
she's tragic Annie.
I see that. I see that.
She truly is
tragic Annie.
Yeah, unfortunately, out of that tragedy comes just this really horrible person.
Yeah,
sadly.
And that's the thing is that it's almost like it almost wasn't the choices that she made. It's like it's not like she's a terrible person, but yet there was something off about her stars or her fate, and the life she should have had didn't belong to her, and that was out of her control. And I think that's why she had the psychotic break, is because it wasn't in her control, and it's not fair,
And so then she tries to steal.
That she does.
Yes.
She does more than steal.
I think she rides the border of, do I destroy them or do I try to be them? She's not really sure for a while.
We're not really sure for a while.
Yeah,
We're still not sure.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
We're still kind of wondering.
Because it's set up for the sequel.
Exactly.
You keep saying that.
Exactly.
Let's see a script, Russ.
Well, that's Julia's domain.
Yeah. We had a nice chat with Julia. She's got some ideas.
Yeah.
She's
lots of
playing with
ideas
them.
floating
So,
out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're definitely looking at that. So, in terms of more going into approaching how you took on the role of tragic Annie,
Sure.
how are you able to take similar characteristics, because we've got just very bright, happy Annie and
Yep.
very, very tragic Annie. Like we said, they're the same person and yet they're so different.
Mm-hmm.
How are you able to kind of break that line so that neither one inappropriately bled over?
I would say some of it is instinct. Some of it, comes from what parts of this character are from you as a person, and you choose what to keep and what not to keep. And a lot of it is choices then between characters. So I knew that Darth Annie, didn't have such a peppy, happy voice. She had kind of a lower voice, but she still had the same vocal cords, as I do. So
she was just subdued and
kind of like
tragic.
Annie on a bad day.
Well, there was a moment of real Annie during the scene with the vodka.
Yes.
You could see real Annie.
Oh
bleed in
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
And you could tell that flame, that little hint of a romance.
Oh
the
yeah,
past
it
romance
really
still
was.
there.
That's
Yeah,
actually that is
probably
true. That is the only time where
It's the
I
only time
actually
they actually-
see tragic Annie, and yet I see more of happy Annie beginning to manifest there. But it's supposed to be.
She's reminiscing
Yeah.
about the happy times
Yeah.
that she did have.
Oh yeah.
But then it
Then it
petered off and
derails.
disappeared.
I almost try to visualize it in my head like a dial. And, sometimes Parallel Annie is like -10, and sometimes she's like more of like a 5, where she's bleeding into Blonde Annie. And it comes down to, a lot of it comes down to trusting your director.
Which is actually going to be my next question.
Yes.
Because clearly, when you're sitting in the audience watching this film, obviously you see the natural chronology of events, and one of the things that's really great about this is that you really get a sense of character arc, how they're going from beginning to end. But obviously, it's not shot in that way.
Exactly.
So to be able to approach both Annies, how were you able to put yourself in the right time, so to speak, knowing that, okay, yeah, I'm doing this scene at this particular time, however, this is a little further from what's happening at this time? That's really an amazing achievement.
It is, and it's hard. It really is. And this is my first feature, so this is the first, hour-long, longer than an hour thing that I've shot out of order. And it really came down to, you always have to read your script before, the scene after, and recognize your moments before.
Right.
And you do have to track your arc. You really have to keep track of it really well. And a lot of that is communication with your director. I mean, a lot of times I would do a scene and I wouldn't be sure about my performance because I'm not watching it. I'm just doing it and trying to feel the moment. So I would have to go to Russ and I'd go, how was that for you? Is what I intend to do, is that reading? Is that showing well on camera? And if it's not, how do we adjust? So it is an art. It's not a science.
Oh, it definitely is an art. And also, I like to give my actors an entrance and an exit for every scene. So
And for this movie, it was usually, I'm hungry. I got to go get a snack.
well, there is that. Yes.
How many?
Yes,
do
there
you
was
ever
quite a lot
count
of
how
that.
many times that's in there?
No, but I guess we could do that now.
Yeah.
Like 9 or 10, something like that.
You know what? I remember the cauliflower,
Yes.
and it started to rot. And then Mike's like, and you're offering it to him, and he's like, no, I have a banana, and he really
Have a
did not
banana.
want that cauliflower.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
So it was a real thing.
No, it was real. I mean,
No,
it
I got a
stank.
banana.
It really
Nope,
stank.
nope.
Yeah. And
Yes.
do you want to tell them about the classic raw lasagna that
Yeah.
Tatiana Kolonov, our beloved production designer, made?
I actually really like healthy foods, and I've toyed around with healthy diets. I've been a vegetarian for a while. I'm not currently a vegetarian, but I tried it out for a while. And so I was really excited about this whole raw lasagna thing. And Tatiana, showed me how she was making it with all these ingredients, and it was really beautiful.
It was very beautiful.
Yeah.
And the first bite I took of the raw lasagna was actually on set, was actually during the take. And so that reaction is, oh, it's real.
That's it.
Oh boy.
Oh, yes.
That's the first bite.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
It was awful. It was awful.
It's pretty odd. It's pretty
obvious
apparent.
on your face.
And I really wanted to like it. That was a genuine desire to want to like it, and I just
And that made it even worse.
couldn't.
I think
my
that's what
gosh.
makes the scene so funny because everybody in the audience, when we had the premiere last night, everybody's just chuckling.
Yeah.
But
Because we've all had that moment.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
I'm a cook, and we've had
Oh dear.
we've had those moments. I made some jerk chicken once.
Oh
and,
my God.
Sounds good.
It does sound good.
Not this chicken.
Well, me being me, a bull in a china closet, I just looked at the little jar and it said, use a quarter teaspoon or whatever. And so I used a quarter teaspoon on each side of a breast of chicken. And it was a quarter teaspoon for like a whole chicken.
Oh, that's very super
And so
saturated.
it's like
very intense.
I'm cooking it and I'm like choking to death, and then we sit down and I take a bite and it's like,
You-
oh my!
you
And
don't
he
s-
took a bite and he's soldiering on,
And I'm like, oh, no,
saying,
it's really
oh my
good.
God, this is so hot.
And I went, oh, thank God, this is terrible. So, yes, we related.
Very relatable, yes.
It was very relatable. But what helps is, and I think what really sells it, is the fact that was your first, the take.
Yep.
That's what
I
we
think
finally
so,
see.
yeah.
And so
It
the
is, yeah.
reactions are so genuine.
Absolutely.
It helps sell the performance.
Absolutely.
I really like
Gosh, kale is awful. Kale is really bad.
Well,
There was a lot of kale
depends-
joke going on last night.
It
I'm
depends
sure.
on
The
it
thing
depends on
is-
how it's fixed.
Actually, roasted kale is good.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it is.
It's very good,
But
but
this
you
was
cannot.
raw kale.
It's raw,
No,
vegan.
raw kale, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
raw kale is
No.
gross.
Yeah.
It's for worms
So
to
you-
poop on.
I mean, look, I saw that lasagna. It looked beautiful.
It was so
Tatiana
pretty.
is incredible at that. I mean, and then she spent a lot of time making
She did.
it. And if you
I
get
hope
the
her
DVD
feelings weren't hurt.
Oh no, she realized that it was not that good.
Oh,
But
did she try it herself?
I think she did.
I
Didn't
think she did.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm sure there are some people out there that would love it. Just not me. Not my thing.
Exactly.
You can actually see it in the behind the scenes featurette that
Okay.
we're gonna have on a DVD and Blu-ray. So
How to make
yeah.
raw.
How not to make raw lasagna.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and just going to another anecdote. This is sort of, I guess, funny. Remember the flies?
There were so many flies in the house.
Oh, my.
and we
What time of
don't
year
know
was you filming
why.
this?
Oh, when was this?
This was October.
September, October.
Yeah. End of September, beginning of October.
You know what the problem was? Trash day was like Friday, and we started shooting. I guess we went in on Saturday and started shooting on like
Oh, my.
Sunday or Monday.
I don't
Yeah.
think that was the problem. I think the house
trash
was
kept,
haunted.
No, the
That's
trash
what we
kept
hear.
accumulating and accumulating and accumulating, and nobody was taking it to the dumpster or anything. So the flies started to accrue.
Yeah.
But
near
the house
trash.
didn't smell.
And then, of course,
It didn't smell to me. It wasn't like I walked in the house and I was like, "This house smells like trash." No, I think the flies were because it was haunted. That's my
Red
opinion.
drum.
Now, we have
Red
heard that this house was haunted.
did you
So
say
tell
rum?
us your experience.
Red drum.
Tell us your experience.
Yeah,
with
we've
the
heard
haunting.
Russ's. I mean,
Well, before you go on, there is actually one fly in the film.
In the actual movie.
Yes, but it's been digitally erased.
I see.
okay, so
where
I
was
was going to
Yeah.
be looking for it, but now I don't
No,
have
no.
to.
You wouldn't imagine how many shots we had to just redo because there was a fly in the shot.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah.
But there's this one shot though, and I know you want to go to this is another anecdote, and I just have to
Please.
say it, because
Let's
this
hear it.
this was where you're talking about stars aligning. It was the scene where you as Darth Annie drug your husband. He falls to the ground. You go get the pizza, come back, sit down, open it, and salute the camera. And you did that from the beginning, from when you walked in
Yeah.
with the pill bottle.
It was all one take.
Getting the pills out, and then
Yeah, there
washing
was-
them,
there was
putting
clearly
in the
no
beer.
edit. You
No,
could
there was
see.
there was none. And in that one shot, there was no flies. It's as if the stars aligned. The
Wow.
performance was there.
Wow.
Everything worked. There was no problem with the cameras. No problem with sound.
Because
No
it's
problem
a
with
very,
anything.
it's a very intense
And
scene.
then I knew we had it. I mean, I knew right there. I'm like, oh gosh, yes.
Dark Candy
Yes.
said, Get the hell out of here, flies.
Yeah.
She scared him off.
And they obeyed.
They
because
did.
that is one of the strongest scenes in the film. It is, honestly, some people, like people,
It's a little terrifying almost.
People laugh because it's like hysteria. It's like, oh my God, could
Well,
somebody
she
be
is-
that
yeah,
hideously
she's
evil?
Yeah.
So cold.
It
and
is.
so
It's that nervous
calculating
laughter.
and so just
So it's funny
evil.
in a negative way, if
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, yeah, well,
but
you-
it was just terrifying.
Yeah, a lot of people do laugh at horror because there is something. It's almost like a release a
Yeah.
little bit.
It has-
It's that little bit of discomfort until you finally deliver the big money shot 69 hit with a frying pan.
Oh,
Did you
69.
really do that?
Yeah, I did. Okay, spoiler.
Well, it's okay. It was scene 69, and scene 69 is another scene where the stars aligned, and it really aligned. Yes, it took 5 to 6
Yes.
hours to shoot. Yes, we went through several dye jobs, I understand. But guess what? In the end, you saw me. You
were
saw me.
giddy.
I was giddy. I
You
was
were.
giddy because I knew we had a movie. We had a movie right there. I knew it. So
Well-
it was. I was so happy with Brianna's performance. It was, not just Brianna. It was Clifford Brakefield. Remember Clifford?
Absolutely.
Yeah, first AD.
He was amazing.
Jennifer Durst, who was your double for like the shadows
Absolutely.
and all that. Emil Harris, Nina Manelli, costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Alicia Vaijonas, makeup, hair. It's just the whole team. Everybody. It took all of us
Yeah.
to make this happen. Even Eric Kask, who shot the behind-the-scenes footage of Video Village, so that I could put your 4 takes of Real Annie and 4 takes of Parallel
Mm-hmm.
Annie together in my editing program to make sure that it worked.
It also helped that everyone knew that there would be hell to pay if the camera moved.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and if you look at
Yeah.
the behind-the-scenes featurette, you'll see it. They taped it. They
Yeah.
taped the room, and
Yeah.
but think about it. Look, force majeure. Everybody knows that term, right? It's an
Right.
act of God. What if there was a slight earthquake?
Yeah, it would have ruined the shot. You'd have to do it all over again.
So even if one little star did not align, that's it.
Yeah.
And that's why I was nervous as hell. I meant nervous as heck.
Oh, that's okay.
You can.
That's okay. It's not
No,
like
I
some
was.
of the other stuff that was.
I
said
mean,
last
it
night.
was honestly not doing anything. We couldn't do anything.
No,
I,
yeah,
as a
there's
director,
clear.
yeah, I could not. I was just sitting there. We were watching Galaxy Quest, and we finished it.
Yeah.
And then we still had more time. I mean, that's what I mean. There was nothing we could do, and it was the worst feeling for me because I just did not know, and I had to cross my fingers and just make sure that things would align.
Oh,
properly.
it did. It in fact.
Oh, it did, and
the
I'm
scene
just really
works-
happy now.
The
in
scene
retrospect.
works so well because we talked about the nervous laughter that you get from the audience, but when that shot finally plays out, the gasps that I heard in the audience. There was these 3 people who were sitting 2 rows in front of me, and they were kind of joking around a little bit, being a bit lighthearted. But when that scene plays out, their reaction, it's funny because my personal investment in this film simply goes from that being a fan. I love the movie passionately. I think it's an amazing piece of work.
Thank you.
From an acting standpoint, from a directing standpoint,
Thank
an
you.
editing standpoint. I mean, I really cannot find fault with this movie. So, and because we had the privilege of being able to get the private screener early on, and we've been champions pushing it, telling people to come. I have this. I have a really perverse sense of ownership, and I really shouldn't.
You are
No,
no. You are part of Team
Exactly.
Occupants.
So
Takes a
You
village.
and Keith
Yeah.
are Team
Well, thank you.
Occupants.
and I appreciate that. So when I was kind of like, people, you're okay, sure, yeah, there's supposed to be some humor here, but really, you're taking this a little bit too much. And then they gasped at that one scene, and I sat really quietly, but in my inside, I'm doing yes.
Yeah, well, it's as Julia said last night, there's 2 beats in that scene.
Yes.
It's the
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
both times, especially that second one. I mean, I saw people recoil.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, yeah.
It's visceral, yeah.
yeah.
I was just so happy to see that the movie it does get that kind of reaction. And I noticed that those people that were sitting in front of me, they were like glue. from
Yeah.
that
Good.
moment on.
Exactly.
As it should
you
be.
owned them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
That's also where it turned to pure horror.
It does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
does.
that's when it took a 180-degree turn.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
before it
Raise
was
the
science
stakes.
fiction. Yeah,
It was.
definitely
Right.
raises the stakes.
And even then, it's a little. I mean, it starts to kind of venture into the dark a little bit. You know, when we see some of the darker things happening on the other side.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when that happens in that scene is like it just went from being voyeuristic into something far more tangible.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And now it's scary.
And that would be a really fun scene to see the behind the scenes for, because that scene really had to be like choreography, because I couldn't play both roles. And so we had Jen come in, who was my quote unquote
Durst.
double for
Yeah.
the hand double. And we basically choreographed it to beats. It was a 1, 2, 3 hit, 4, 5 exit, thing like that. Like we had to count it out to the T. We had
Oh,
marks
yeah.
that we had to stick to. It was very specific, and
And-
I think that would be fun to watch.
Oh yeah, you'll definitely see that in the behind the scenes
Oh, cool.
featurette. Yes.
I look forward to watching it. You know, something else that I really observed last night, and one of the benefits of having being able to see the film a second time, is I took an opportunity to not get so dramatically pulled in, although that one scene still made me go, whoa! You know, I still flipped out. But I noticed something that I really enjoyed, and that is there are scenes where Good Annie is having a conversation via webcam to Dr. Peterson. Now, obviously, these scenes are edited in such a way so that we get a sense of a follow-through narrative.
Mhm.
But in terms of how they were filmed, I would imagine they're not. Now, with Robert Picardo, was he like off-camera feeding you lines? Because there are scenes where they come... well, actually, no. Well, your reactions are really, really good. And that's what I was wondering. And also, the scenes where we cut back after Good Annie has been looking at the footage.
Yes.
Now, all of a sudden we cut back to Good Annie, and you're putting on a reaction of like something totally horrible that you've just witnessed.
Yeah.
To be able to kind of pull that out. I mean, at this point you hadn't filmed any of those sequences yet, so you didn't have a full understanding as
Right.
to what that was going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you're able to draw a reaction on something that you haven't filmed yet.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's a challenge, but a lot of that comes from well, I'll speak first to the thing about Robert Picardo. So we actually filmed his version of the scene before we filmed our version of it. And we were on set for that. We did a rehearsal with him, and then it was funny. It was such a small set, and he was, with the green screen, and the green screen needs a lot of room because it needs its own lighting. So we were actually stuffed. Me and Mike, we were stuffed into a closet.
You're in the closet.
We had like a clothing bar at waist height, but since we were sitting, it was craned behind our necks. And so
Oh,
we
wow.
were really like cramped into this closet reading lines with Robert Picardo, which it was a funny memory to look back on. But at the time we were like, this is weird. Like, this isn't really acting. What are we supposed to do? But because we had filmed that part first, it did help to be able to go back and do the reactions with the conversation with him. It was very real. I think we actually watched playback that day
Yes.
of Robert's lines. So that helped a lot.
Oh, so that allows you to pull out a more genuine reaction instead of
Not while we were
really using
actually
fantasy.
filming, but before we filmed the scene. And then with the other stuff, with watching the actual video recordings, some of it, Russ would say, okay, he would give an auditory clue, like, okay, now she's lit him on fire. Okay, now she's doing this. Okay, now she's doing that. And that helped doing that. It helped to react to that.
What were you,
as far as timing.
You're almost like looking into the camera.
Yep. So
We have to add marks for you for the
yeah,
eyeline.
we had eye lines so that I was looking at the footage, and the idea was that the webcam was mounted on the monitor of the camera, and it comes down to really practiced visualization, I suppose. So you kind of have to imagine how the scene's going to play out in your mind and talk it over with Russ and make sure that matches his vision of how it's going to play out based on the script. And then you just kind of have to see it in your mind's eye as if you're, project it onto the screen and pretend to react to it. And that's just something that, takes practice with acting school. Yeah.
I was very impressed with it.
Thank you.
So going back to, well, we kind of touched on this a little bit during the course of this conversation. What is it about, well, what is it about acting itself? I mean, you talked about how you really were bitten by the acting bug. But as you've been growing up and as you've been studying acting a little bit further, what is it about the craft or the art of acting itself, regardless of the role you're playing? What is it about acting itself that turned you on and made me say, "Oh, I want to do that"? And then the second question, this is more for the both of you, what is it about horror that got people so invested into this project, be either as people who are creating it or even people who are watching it? But first, in terms of the acting itself, and what was it about acting that just made you say, "Ooh, this is something that's I've got to do"?
Well, I've always had a really, really extremely vivid imagination. So this kind of is a good outlet for that, because I get to imagine that I'm different people. When I was little, I would do the speeches in the mirror pretending I was somebody else, the typical play pretend sort of thing. And I've always just been really drawn to that. But the more I learn about it, the more I love how you get to play within the rules and sometimes break the rules once you learn them, and I think that's something that is true for almost all art forms.
Can you give us an example on that? Because I'm sure that to anybody who's listening to this, they're probably thinking, well, I don't know what that means, because they haven't gone through the experience that you have.
Sure. I mean, let me try and think of an example. So sometimes you'll come across a script, and as you're doing your script reading, you're trying to do your script analysis, you'll realize, oh, okay, well, a rule for this is you should always believe what you say. As an actor, that's advice that they give us in acting school, is that if your character is saying something, even if later in the script it's found that it's a lie, you should always say it as if it's true, because then you're not anticipating it for the audience.
Right.
But with something like Parallel Annie, she's supposed to be a shifty character. She's, who to trust, doesn't know. Those are times when you maybe should make the choice to play around with that a little bit. And do I believe what I'm saying, or do I not? Right. And especially when it comes down to something as high stakes as the pregnancy. So with real or blonde Annie, she is like, well, if Parallel Annie is pregnant, am I pregnant? No, right. Of course not. No. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. And so you kind of have to make choices like that of maybe now is a time that I can break a quote unquote acting rule. But of course, again, that comes back to, is it reading well on camera? Because if it's not, you change the choice.
No, I definitely read well on camera for me.
I would dare say that's that acting rule would not necessarily apply, because the entire landscape and the set of rules that you're required to play with have been completely and radically redefined.
Exactly.
So it's a whole new set of rules that you have to play within at that point.
Oh, absolutely. And it also, even physical things, like, because this is a found footage film, and that's very different from most of the other short films or
you get
anything
to break
that
the
I've
fourth
done.
Wall.
Yeah, you get to break the fourth wall, and you get to, not worry so much about, well, is this a close-up, or is this, a wide shot, and, do I need to find my marks or things like that?
Well, not only that, I thought it worked brilliantly with Parallel Annie, owning the camera.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She salutes the camera. She looks at the camera before she hits her counterpart.
It's very deliberate.
And by looking at the camera, then she's owning the audience too.
Yeah,
and then we freak out.
Well, because we're the voyeur.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just...
And she's eyeing you.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed when we saw the film the first time. Is it's one thing for Annie and Neil to kind of play voyeur over into the alternate universe, but as the whole story progresses, it's changed, and now the role... we become the voyeur, and that's and I have a very uneasy feeling about voyeuristic films. I mean, they're very, very disturbing.
Exactly.
So, in terms of horror, now is this the first horror project that you ever worked on?
I've done a few horror short films, but this is the first on this scale.
Do you like horror?
I like it when it's done really well.
That means she loves Occupants.
Yeah, I really do like psychological horrors. So one of my favorite horror
here.
movies is Cabin in the Woods, and it has that aspect of looking behind the curtain and making you question, oh, this is how horror films are made, and this is how they manipulate you. Right. And that's one thing that I really loved about Occupants, is that sort of psychological thriller, who can you trust? And that aspect of leveled voyeurism, of layered voyeurism, of, well, what is happening to Blonde Annie could be happening to you, you know? And what happens when the things that you're watching become a part of your own life, which I love.
And so, Russ, first horror, I mean, obviously, on a big scale, this is probably your first one, but do you have a passion for horror films in general? And is horror something that you want to possibly continue for the future?
Well, there is another horror feature film I might be doing. So yeah, definitely. But psychological
and
horror.
it's not Occupants 2?
It's not Occupants.
We're not talking the sequel yet.
That's another project.
Okay.
It's called The Dollhouse.
Oh.
But it's something in Ohio. But psychological horror is what really interests me. It's the psychology of the character. And to, be able to think you know somebody, but you really don't. And you start doubting, in this case, their spouse. But also you start doubting yourself. Because you think you're a good person, but then you realize, here's my counterpart. And obviously not a good person. So if she's not a good person or he's not a good person, does that mean I'm not a good person?
Right.
And that's the psychological part of horror that I like. It's not the blood and guts or slasher type films. They really don't interest me.
It's a thinking horror film.
Yeah, it's a thinking horror. So The Others would be one of them, or even The Conjuring, or The Ring, the Japanese version. Something like that. That really does, that really interests me. I like films like that. You could even go back to the Hitchcock films.
Right.
It was mentioned in Occupants.
Right.
Alfred Hitchcock. It's just something about that.
If
like
you look at a Rear Window,
Rear Window is definitely a voyeuristic type of film.
yeah.
That thing has influenced, the making of this film. So that's what I like about horror, is those elements.
Yeah, we were talking earlier with somebody else about, we talked about Horrible Imaginings Film Festival in San Diego, and Miguel's view of horror is it's not necessarily just the blood and guts and whatnot. It can be almost anything that is unexpected, that kind of just turns the whole thing on its head. And it can be hilariously funny, but it can be unexpected and be a horror film. I mean, we saw some incredibly funny horror films, that were just great, but there was lots of unexpected.
Well, and it's so funny because with horror, you set up tension and then you break the tension.
Exactly.
But with a joke, it's very similar. You have a joke, the setup, and then you have the punchline.
Is that so is that what makes horror films so popular? Because people just seem to like fall over. I've seen at the Horrible Imaginings Film Festival, there was just like crowds and crowds of people that just could not get enough of this. Is that what it is? Is it the tension release effect?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think
I think that's why same reason people like roller coasters.
Yeah. And music is
yes,
tension release.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the composer for this film, I mean, he just hit it head on.
Oh, absolutely.
Not with the pan, but he definitely hit it with the baton.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
No, he didn't.
That was
That was me, the director, so
That's all
it's
right.
okay.
We'll just release this.
No, but his name is Vasilis Malesis, and he just did an incredible job with this. I mean, it just works so well.
Okay, we haven't had a chance to really talk about him. So, and the score for this film is really amazing. How did you get in touch with this guy?
He got in touch with me on Facebook.
Oh, really?
Of all places. Social media it can play a positive role in life.
Look, this film was a conglomeration of so many different peoples from different countries. I'm talking countries like around the world countries. I mean, he was living in Spain.
Wow.
We shot the orchestra. We had an orchestra called the $99 Orchestra. And for the end credits, we definitely used it as orchestra. And they were recorded in Lisbon, Portugal. Wow. We had visual effects companies in Bangalore, India, and also in the Philippines. So I was kind of like an on-call doctor. But that's fine. I'm willing to wake up at 4 a.m. to hear the recording on my own score.
Yeah.
That's fine. But if we were to try to do this, let's say in 1986 or even 1996, it would be impossible.
No.
Yeah.
We would not be able to do it. So this is a film, and I have not met the composer yet. I'm going to meet him for the first time at the Florida SuperCon.
No
which is July 1st
kidding.
or 4th. Yeah, he's living in Miami with his wife now. So,
That's amazing.
But trust me, we talked many times via Skype via phone, via the internet, Facebook messaging.
Intertubes
that's
are a
it.
wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And that's how we came up with this. So, I mean,
That's impressive.
Or should we say the internets?
and trust me, he is, I mean, for me and, Brianna, I hope, I convey this, but I look at, filmmaking as a collaboration. So I value everybody's input. So Brianna's input, Michael's input, Harris's input, Vasilis's input.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes Vasilis, what he says, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, that works. You're right. That works.
And
I
that's
like that.
one thing that's so hard about being a director is you have to be the channel
Yeah.
that for all of those different, advices and ideas and things like that. And you have to be able to take some things with a grain of salt and then really truly listen
Take
to
what
some
you will,
things
discard
and-
the rest.
Exactly. And I think you do a good job of that, Russ.
Well, I appreciate that. It's shades of gray. It's an art. It's an art
Totally.
form. So I have to make that choice. Nobody else can make that choice. I have to do it.
Do you think you're a better filmmaker now than you were like several years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Because for every film, you learn something new.
Right.
And am I a perfect filmmaker? I don't think so.
Oh, I don't think
Will
there's
I
such a
ever
thing as a
be?
perfect
No.
filmmaker. No.
No one is.
But you can always learn from your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I try to do with every single film.
And what about you? Brianna, do you feel like you're a better actress now than you were before you did Occupants?
I think I learned a tremendous amount in this. I mean, this is my first feature.
Right.
And you don't just learn about acting, you learn about business and you learn about relationships because a
Oh,
lot of the
yeah.
times on set, you're stressed out and everybody's waking up early and they have to sit in traffic to get here and it's like everybody's worst day. But you are doing your dream job and you have to remind yourself that everybody else is,
We're all human.
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Exactly. And so I think that the most thing I learned about is how to navigate those relationships because it is so hard and it is so stressful. And this has been a project for 2 years and you really
Right.
have to learn to love your people that you work with. And that can be hard sometimes.
Well, I'll tell you this. As an anecdote, the first 3 days of the shoot, I was sick.
Right.
Yeah.
I was sick, but can I take a day off?
No,
And
you
just
have
go
to, you
to
have to
bed?
keep going.
I mean, I could because my bed was in the makeup wardrobe room. But no, I can't.
But you're
I can't
on a
do
schedule.
It. No, I can't do
Exactly.
it. I cannot do it. We have 10 days to shoot this film. We have to get the bang for our buck. So no, I can't do it. And guess what? I won't because I love what I'm doing. So that's why I push myself. But on the other front, taking 2 years. Imagine that you take 2 years of your life and you don't know what's going to happen at the end.
Exactly.
Right.
So when I get a reaction like we did during our Phoenix Comicon screening, it's just so gratifying. I feel so grateful because this is 2 years of a labor of love, and
Absolutely.
somebody can appreciate it.
So
Yeah.
many hours of hard work.
It's a lot
on
of hours.
Every single person put
Every
in
person,
their
yeah.
whole heart.
Exactly.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it was good to
Thank
see.
you.
I was glad that there was a good crowd and
I
that they
was too.
reacted the way they did. So it was
What were
really
your
kinda
thoughts
nice.
about the screening last night?
The screening went amazing, in my opinion. I mean, it was interesting because that was the third screening I've been to. I went to the cast and crew screening, which
At the Writers Guild of America.
yes, at the Writers Guild, and that was the weirdest experience
Was
for
it
me.
Because it was the first time you'd
It
seen
was
it?
the first time I'd seen the movie, first time I'd
wow.
seen a feature, an entire feature that I had been in, and
And your agent was there.
my agent was there, my manager was there. That was
Well, you can be, I can
awesome
see where you
too.
can be a little self-conscious about that.
I wouldn't even, I mean, yeah, maybe I was a little bit self-conscious. I was surprised that people were laughing. I expected, when you hear it's a horror film, you don't
You
expect,
expect gasps.
Oh, yeah.
laughter. Yeah, and so that really threw me off the first time. But
That's how I felt last night.
yes, when I watched it the second time, I got to enjoy it a lot more. And I laughed myself, actually, and
Right.
I finally understood. And it does come back to the breaking of the tension because you watch something so horrific and then you watch someone watching it. And that is always very weird.
Okay, we just added a whole new level of voyeurism
Yes.
on this now.
Exactly.
Purely from the audience standpoint, watching somebody else in the audience
Yeah.
react.
Oh, that's what I was doing yesterday. I was
Yeah.
watching the audience.
I have to admit, I was doing that last night.
It was a
I didn't mean to.
voyeur's dream.
It was so bizarre.
Ugh.
It really was.
I
Yeah.
felt creeped out all
Yeah.
of a sudden about just being in the audience last night.
Well,
No, it was great,
I was
though.
seeing people leaning forward, and one
Yes.
person was on their phone, but they stopped and looked up, and they kept their phone on, but they kept looking at the film, and they wouldn't stop looking.
Good.
I
Yeah,
saw that.
that's cool.
That's what
Yeah.
you
That was a
want.
reaction, yeah. I mean,
that's
look,
what you're after.
I mean, you know, the first screening at the Writers Guild for me, I was nervous. I was like chewing,
Me
you
too.
know, I was chewing on my lip. I was
Oh,
literally
no.
looking at everybody, making sure that the reaction was good.
Wow.
And you know what? The best reaction I got was my mother. And I'm gonna give a shout out to my parents, Charles
Oh,
and
they've
Amy
been
Emmanuel.
amazing.
But my mother's like, "Oh Russ, this is so good. Oh Russ, this is the best thing you've ever done." And I'm like,
wow.
"Wow, this is a reaction."
That's
And my mother's
great.
never like that.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
"Okay, I guess it must be good then."
I think this is the kind of reaction we all
Yeah.
we always want
She's
from our
never had that
parents.
reaction
We
from
want that
any of my films.
You
justification.
hit,
Exactly.
you hit
Yeah.
her nerve.
I guess
The
I hit
right
something.
nerve.
Yeah.
No, I was like genuinely surprised. My
great.
mother is not like that, and
You
she
know,
was just
what's funny is I like the opposite response. So at the end of every screening so far, we have done a panel or a Q&A. And
Yeah.
my favorite thing is to see people hunched over, like looking down with their hands over their face, like, what am I? Like people who, after watching our film, kind of question their own existence.
Yeah.
That's my favorite reaction.
Yeah.
They're not talking, but they're thinking, and that's
Right.
what I like.
Well, we did that after we saw the film the very first time.
Yeah,
I mean, as we mentioned last night, I mean, we kept pausing it during the course of the movie, said we could, because Keith and I have this habit of always just wanting to converse about what it is that we just saw.
Right.
Did that just happen? And then when it was over, actually, I think it was funny when we finally finished watching it. For about 30 seconds, we just sat there in silence.
And it was like, what did we just watch?
But not in a questioning sort of way. It's like,
not
oh my,
in a-
what
not
is
in a
more
bad way, but
no,
it was
no,
like,
it's more like, what did I just experience?
What was that?
I mean, I felt completely.
But we were prepared because we had seen the 20-minute
the featurette.
Yes,
so we were a little
testimonial
prepared.
videos.
And
Yes,
I think
yes,
that
of the
if
different
people see
people
that
who saw
first,
parallel
you know,
universes, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's not a bad idea to
Then-
kind of introduce them
yeah.
to the featurette first, and then you know that is so.
that's to our film there.
Well, yes, exactly.
Or a DVD with.
Yeah.
It will be on the DVD. Yes.
Well,
definitely.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've talked a lot about the movie. We talked a lot about how you've gotten into acting. For people, so we can get to know a little bit more about you. Now, any passions, hobbies, things that you just really like to enjoy that maybe people don't know about you, or that you want more people to know about you?
So my big thing right now is that I have a YouTube channel where I play video games. I have a Let's Play style gaming channel, and it's actually quite new. It's only about 5 months old, and so I'm kind of still working the terrain. But I'm currently playing through Uncharted 4. I've played a little bit of Fallout. We played Battlefront when that came out. So I'm starting to get into playing lots of different styles of games, and I'm going to be doing reviews a little bit more now of different games when they first come out.
Have you always been a gamer?
It's so funny. My whole family plays video games, and we used to play on the couch together. We got an N64 when that first came out, and we played Ocarina of Time, the Zelda game. And yeah.
Nice.
My mom was obsessed. She loves puzzle games, and so she would sit and she would play through, and anytime there was a mini game, I'd be like, Mom, can I play? You know, I don't know, I was like 6 years old, and we would just switch off, and we would all play together, and we'd sit around and we'd listen to the music, and that's like a amazing family memory that I have, is playing Zelda Ocarina of Time, and my love for video games has just kind of continued from there.
I'm old enough. I remember when the NES came out, and I was in my mid-20s.
Oh, please. I'm old enough. I remember my first video game was Pong.
Yes, we remember.
Pong is a very good game.
We remember
Thank you.
Pong. Yes, we were talking about video games last night.
Yes, we were.
And how old we all are.
I know. We're old farts. I mean, I will admit that. So, what kind of video games are you like really into? Right.
Well,
I mean, obviously there's some that you're talking about for your show. But are there any that, either present or past that you just, I mean, you mentioned Zelda, but are there others that you just like say, oh my God, this is a game I just love to play again and again and again?
So my favorite style of game is adventure story-based RPGs. So that's why I'm obsessed with Zelda. I'm obsessed with the Uncharted series. And I played Diablo, the Diablo series with Blizzard's Diablo 2. I played that for like 6 years. Like I played that for a long time. I made lots of different characters. I went through all the different levels. So anything like that, like currently or recently when Dragon Age Inquisition came out, that was a big game for me. I'm currently on my second playthrough. I put like 120 hours into my first playthrough. So those style games where you can level up your character and pick your attributes, that's my jam. I love that.
So you're okay. So, but you mentioned puzzle games a little while ago. So I have to ask. Only I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but did you ever get caught up in the Myst craze?
Oh God, that was 98, 99,
yeah,
99.
Myst, M-Y-S-T.
I would not have been old enough to.
Yeah,
that was like the
I don't
ultimate puzzle game that I hated, and yet I couldn't stop playing.
Yep.
What was that?
It's like crack.
It's this game where they just plop you down. No clues, none,
Interesting.
zero, nada.
You
just have to go around and start touching things and twisting things.
How
and
fun!
Yeah, it's an amazing puzzle
I
game.
wonder if I could download an old version of it.
I
might.
think
You
probably can.
I think you can.
I've got to try that.
And-
I wonder
and
if I could do that for my channel.
And
That
then
would
you
be
get
great.
you get the clue, and it's like, what the?
Oh my gosh!
You know, it's
Yeah,
like,
what the bleep?
How would you ever know to twist that knob and then twist it all the way over to 32?
And yet there are people
and
that
then-
figure it out.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
press the button that's hidden around the corner.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a little bit like the old King's Quest games. I mean, they're sort of similar to that. You know, you walk into a forest and you have to find the third tree up, 4 trees over, and look around that tree.
Who would
Right.
think?
You know, it's
but
like-
somebody does.
Oh yeah,
somebody
you
does
could
figure
spend
it out.
hours on the same side-scrolling screen, just walking around, making a zigzag pattern, working your way through the trees. You know, and it's maddening, but that's what makes it so rewarding.
When,
And I
you,
think,
when you get that next level.
When you figure it out, and if you figure it out without the clue,
Yeah.
is even better.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I will admit that. at one
yeah.
point, I mean,
there were some that it was like, oh my God, I figured it out.
Yeah.
But what did I figure out?
exactly. Now what?
Because it did something, but I didn't see anything. But it did something like 6 screens over.
Exactly.
You know.
But now in 2016 you have walkthroughs.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Well,
you could
that's
cheat.
true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I remember Keith had Myst on his computer. I had it on my computer. We'd be both playing, and then every once in a while he'd come over to mine and see what I'm doing. I'd go over to his, see what he was doing.
so
and then
funny.
we reached a point where we were just like at this impasse, and we just could not figure out what to do. And we were out at the computer store and just happened to see the Cheater's Guide, and I thought, okay, I'm done. I pick it up and I start leafing through it, and then I threw it down in total disgust, thinking, I would have never figured that out.
Yeah.
In a billion years.
Yeah,
And
there's
yet
some of those. It's like,
but,
oh my God.
but it frosts me because obviously somebody did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have, as I said, you do this thing over here, and then you have to walk halfway across the island to do something else that was triggered by what you did over there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is so many video games nowadays build upon those tropes. And that's, amazing. Like in Uncharted, there's, you go through the story, but there's also a treasure hunting
Right.
portion of it where same thing, you can open a door that you think is actually a stone rock and all of a sudden there's a treasure behind it. It's like, it's been building on it for that reward center in your brain for those
Right,
people who
right.
are really enjoy challenges and puzzles like
Right.
that.
So, what is Adam's favorite game? He's sitting over there in the
just-
corner.
yeah, he's
This
playing-
This is
My brother's
Brianna's
here.
brother.
I love really competitive games. So
Com-
right now my favorite game is Counter-Strike.
He plays a lot of Counter-Strike,
Okay.
CSGO.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
He has a
Okay.
group
So
of
you
friends
really
that he'll
com-
play with. Yeah. He's
Duke it out,
really
huh?
intense about it. He has completely upgraded his computer equipment specifically for being optimized for Counter-Strike.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool.
he's really into it.
I kind of get a feeling you're going to love Ready Player One when that movie comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
Have you read the book? Ready Player
Ready
One?
Player One.
I haven't.
Oh, read it. You'll love
That's
it.
Spielberg's new film.
That's Spielberg's
Yep, exactly.
movie.
Ooh, that
oh
sounds good.
my God,
Yeah.
that is going to be like the nerdiest, geekiest computer game type movie ever.
Well, it has lots of 80s.
And a lot of 80s pop culture
Interesting.
references.
I'm really excited for that new frontier in blockbuster movies. I'm really hoping that they can do really well because, Uncharted movie has been planned for a couple years now, but it keeps stalling in production and they can't really figure it out. So I really hope that Warcraft does well, and I really hope that Assassin's Creed and I hope Thief does well, because if they do well, that sets the stage, and then all of a sudden every video game you've ever played is now going to become a movie. And that's all I want as a video game player, to see Uncharted, to see Nathan Drake on the screen. I mean, ugh.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen a number of first player or first person video games that actually got translated into some kind of a movie. I've seen it in Star Trek. I mean, there's one about Klingons that I just absolutely love, and they were able to actually convert that into a film, and it was such a great joy to be able to watch. So, okay, well, that was a lot of fun to talk about. So for anybody who wants to know, let's start with you, Russ. Mm-hmm. If anybody wants to know more about you, any more about what you're working on, or any more about Occupants, how can they do that?
Well, since this is about Occupants, you can go to the official website at occupantsthemovie.com. That's OCCUPANTS.
E-I-E-I-O.
E-I-E-I-O. So Occupants, plural, themovie.com. You could see the trailer. You could see the gallery behind the scenes, even the interviews that we've done. Right. You could see the comic book tie-in. We have a comic book tie-in to the film right now. And any of our screenings, like Phoenix Comicon, or our upcoming Florida SuperCon and San Diego Comicon.
Far out.
That one is...
that one's going
to
be
an
exciting one.
Especially if we can get into Hall H.
Yes. And I just want to reiterate to people that we do have an encore screening of this film, Occupants, at Phoenix Comicon Film Festival at West 102A at noon on Sunday.
Yeah, this episode will probably be going out tomorrow morning on Saturday. So, we're going to continue to push that because we want to see more people show up for that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think another thing, if people want to learn more about Occupants, is our Facebook page. I think that's really important. If you like the Facebook page, that's going to help us, get that movie out there for, good distribution deals.
And you go to occupantsthemovie.com, the Facebook page link is right there. Mm-hmm. It's a big F. You can't miss it.
But in a good way.
Blue F, yeah?
I wasn't going there. So that's where you can see more, And again, I guess it's facebook.com, Occupants the Movie. That's
cool.
And if you want to see anything about my films, besides Occupants, including the one I mentioned, The Dollhouse, you go to russem.com. That's russem.com.
Cool.
Okay.
And what about Briana?
So I also have all the standard social medias. I have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'm pretty easy to find if you just look up my name, Briana White, Briana, just one N. It's facebook.com/BrianaWhite.actress for my Facebook. Instagram is Briana421. I also have an IMDb page, so look at my name on IMDb. You can find me there. And for
are you Briana White 97 or something like that?
No. On IMDb, no. I was for a while. I was Briana White 2.
Yeah.
But I've since moved up in the world, and I'm now Briana White 1.
I'm Keith Lane 4 or something like that. What? I mean, how does that happen?
And then for the more day-to-day stuff, pictures, behind-the-scenes footage, I have my website, www.briana-white.com.
And what if they want to follow you about your game stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my game stuff. It's currently youtube.com/sibling rivalry show.
Oh.
That's currently my URL because I was doing my show with my brother, but now I'm going solo. Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
So the sibling rivalry,
it's a new world.
Huh?
Exactly. Yeah. I guess you could say that. But,
and he's the one that's into the...
I'm sad to not have him with me anymore, but he's got to focus on school, and I want to keep doing gaming on YouTube. So I decided I'm going to rebrand the channel, rename it, something like that. But for now, it's Sibling Rivalry Show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, I want to thank you both tremendously. And I know we said it a number of times already, but boy, we really, really loved this movie.
Yeah, and your acting is incredible.
And yes, your acting is great. I mean,
and your directing is good too.
Whoa, thank you.
Yeah, your directing is quite good. I mean, when Annie has her breakdown, about what's going on, it's like I was emotionally invested. So I attribute that to your incredible craft, and I thank your teachers for teaching you well on
I'm
how
sure
to
they'll
be.
love to hear that.
I mean, because you are a very, very strong actress,
Thank
and I
you.
look forward to seeing more from you in the future.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Briana White and Russ Emanuel.
Thank you.
Well, that's our second segment, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say that we really enjoyed talking to Briana and Russ again. And
Russ holds the record 4 times on the show
Four
now.
times on the show now. Got a record.
Yeah.
But I want to also say that there is an encore screening
On Sunday.
at noon in West 102A.
Mm-hmm.
It is worth seeing.
Please, we cannot push this enough. The movie is wonderful. It deserves to be seen, especially if you like psychological horror with a good sci-fi twist to it.
Yeah. So we got a few more stories out of Russ this
A
time.
lot, yeah, a few more.
And some stuff out of Briana.
Yeah,
So
those was some good content from her.
who knows what we'll have for you tomorrow. We might have something, we might not. We'll definitely have a little something for you on Monday morning at
Yeah.
our regular time. But thanks for listening, and we're going to say goodbye.
Cheers.